It's that time of the day. Yes, it's time for Talking Pints. My guest today, well, Grant Harrold was butler to what we now know, of course, as King Charles III. Grant, welcome
Thank
to
you.
Talking Pints.
Cheers.
Good to see you. And, well, happy birthday to the King.
Happy birthday to the King, absolutely.
So Charles, 74 years young today. But I wanted to go back a step with you about how you became, you know, the butler for Charles and Camilla. Because you basically, I mean, it was almost like a TV audition in your case, wasn't it?
It was, well, originally I watched a documentary about the Queen and the family, and I thought, wouldn't it be amazing to work for the family? I wrote to the Queen twice, still got the responses, and this determination continued until my early 20s when I heard that he was looking for a butler, and so I applied for the job. And what was interesting was the now Queen, or Queen Consort, knew me from a reality show that I did when I was about 21 called Country House, which was where I was a trainee butler. And so initially when I joined the household, they used to introduce me as the TV butler, which was quite embarrassing, but also quite funny.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, isn't it? I mean, you know, because obviously one of the qualities they're looking for is discretion,
yes,
etc. So to get somebody who'd been on a reality show, they were taking a bit of a gamble, weren't they?
Possibly. I think, luckily, obviously they watched it, saw what I was like, and I mean, they did say when I joined the household that obviously from that point forward you don't do any media work, you don't do any television, and that's how it is. You know, when you're there, I think there's only a few images of me when I was working for the family, because you know you wouldn't go up and say, "Oh, can I have a picture?" Or, could you imagine today? Or can we do a quick TikTok or something?
Yeah,
It just wouldn't happen.
And when you first got the job, you were slightly overawed by it?
I was, yes. I was very nervous. I didn't know what the protocols were. And, you know, a lot of people think that we get given manuals and you're told what to do. You're not. You kind of go in, you learn from the other staff. I remember the first time I kind of came face to face with the now King and Queen was in Scotland, and I didn't know what to do. I remember one morning they appeared at the end of this corridor and I panicked. Didn't know if I'm supposed to bow, do you speak to them? And there was a door on my right, and I dived into this what I thought was a room, and it was a cupboard, which is a little bit awkward, and I thought they won't know I'm in a cupboard, they'll never know, and they were outside the door wondering why I was inside a cupboard.
What did you say?
Well, I calmly, because I could hear them having this conversation about what I was doing, so I thought, well, I better get this situation. So I opened the door, didn't look at them, and there was a door opposite, and I was praying that it wasn't another cupboard, and luckily it was a staircase, and at which point, as I closed the door, I acknowledged them, obviously, because they're there, and said, you know, good morning, Your Highnesses, and they both kind of smiled at me, and then I went, that's the staircase, and then went down the stairs, and later on, they were in hysterics about it, but it was great for me, because I got to see that they were fun. You know, they were down to earth, great humour, which now people get to see, thanks to, obviously, YouTube. You get to see this kind of humorous side of them.
Yeah, it was, and of course, that relationship of staff, you know, in any walk of life, but especially with what you were doing. I thought one of the most moving moments that I saw on the day of the Queen's funeral were all the staff walking out of Buckingham Palace and lining up as the Queen. It was a very, very powerful moment, wasn't it?
It was. Weirdly, I was nearby. I was literally just to the side of the palace when that happened, and I didn't realise that they were all coming out, and I was there because I hadn't had a chance to kind of say my goodbye, and luckily, I don't quite know how it happened, Nigel, but somehow I ended up in the right spot at the right time as the coffin went past, and got to kind of say my goodbye, because obviously part of working for the family was my dream of meeting the Queen and even getting to dance with her, because that was the other thing that I wanted to do, was to have the honour of hopefully dancing with her, and that happened. And the sad part was the room that I got to dance with her, which was this ambition, was obviously where at Balmoral Castle, where they put her body after she had died, you know, which was,
strange.
For me, that was really moving.
Odd.
Yeah, really odd.
Yeah, and Charles himself, I mean, you of course worked a lot of time at Highgrove.
Yes.
So Highgrove is where it's the private.
Yes.
It's absolutely. The private Charles and Camilla. Now, there was a lovely picture the other day of Camilla with two dogs.
Yes.
And a sort of furry hat on, and she was going out to walk the dogs. And we get the odd sort of birthday picture of Charles at Highgrove. But this, I mean, for him, this really is home, is it?
It is. In fact, last year, I think the picture that was shown was actually at Highgrove, and it said in his kind of beloved gardens, the birthday picture. And it's somewhere that he really loves Highgrove. You know, that's why I was so lucky to be based there, because, you know, it wasn't an office, it was a private home, you know, very much a private home. And I felt really lucky to be able to kind of be there. And I mean, I knew of Highgrove, obviously, as everybody that kind of likes the royal family knows about the private homes, and that was obviously a private home. And I got to obviously not only look after them, but back then the boys, William and Harry. And it was extraordinary having the opportunity of getting to know them as a family, just like any other family. The thing that actually hit me, I remember being in London on one occasion, staying over at Clarence House, and I remember carrying on as normal, you know, around them as we used to do, and looking out the window about 9 o'clock as they were leaving to do some official, and there was obviously there was the official cars and the escort, and that's when I was like, wow, this isn't just any family, because you kind of forget, because when you're around them, they do become,
and they were kids and
exactly,
fun and playing.
Exactly.
No, it was Charles himself. I mean, we get all sorts of, you know, conflicting opinions about Charles, about how complex he is, about how emotional he is. Well, clearly he is an emotional man. Clearly he does care about stuff a lot.
He does, and that's what I noticed also from an official point of view. Obviously he gets, you know, this is where over the years people kind of criticise him for getting involved too much, but he's not, from what I could understand, what I saw, he's not doing it on purpose. It's just he's passionate.
He cares about stuff.
He cares about the country, he cares about people. And that's why he gets involved. And even right down to his staff. You know, he cares about his staff. It was reported the other day that he's, with the cost of living, he's been giving some money to staff. And that didn't surprise me, because I'm aware that's the kind of man he is. You know, he would always, if there was ever a problem or something wrong, he would want to know. He would ask you. And it used to kind of catch me off guard. You know, it'd be the middle of doing lunch or dinner, and he might have heard something, and he would ask you. He would say, is everything okay? And because he wanted everybody to be happy, he wanted everything. So this is how he is as a person.
A bit odd, perhaps.
Initially, I was surprised, you know, from my point of view, because I didn't expect it to be like that. I kind of thought, working for this family, that it would be, you wouldn't have that kind of interaction. And that was very much part of it.
But you were at Highgrove. I mean, of course, you know, you were in his private space.
Yes.
So it's a close relationship that develops.
It is. Yes. I mean, I've said this to many people over the years, that when you work for anybody as a butler or in a household, it is a private, you know, private home, and you get to know them, dare I say, probably better than other members of the family, but they trust you and respect you, and it's a two-way thing. It's very much a two-way thing. I remember one of the biggest honours I also had when working for him was he's got, for anybody that's been to Highgrove, there's the Sanctuary, which is a little place of worship in the grounds. All faiths can actually go there, and I used to kind of help look after it, and it was a huge honour when he asked if I would look after this, kind of care for it and keep it in order. So
nice.
I felt really lucky.
So the religious side, and mixing drinks for Camilla, of course.
Exactly, yes, absolutely. I should mention, she's also very good at making cups of tea. You know, she'd do. That's the wonderful thing about them. And the Queen was the same. You know, they would do things as well. You know, they can, you know, quite easily make cups of tea for people and do things themselves. And that's what was always quite nice, was kind of seeing that they've got staff and people there to help them.
Of course.
The reality is, of course they can do things
But they
themselves.
look happy together, don't they?
Totally. 100%. They are the best of friends. I mean, that's what I remember. I was lucky. I got invited to the wedding. I hadn't been there long enough. I had been there, I think it was about 9 months. And then I got an invitation. I actually got a phone call from Clarence House, from a member of his team, to say that I hadn't been there long enough, but I was invited personally by them to the wedding. And that was amazing, you know, to
nice
be at the wedding. It was wonderful. Windsor Castle, it was a beautiful day.
Brilliant.
The Queen was there, Prince Philip was there. It was extraordinary.
He's the king now, and he's had the longest apprenticeship of anybody I can think of in any walk of life. It's still a shock to me that it's only 8 weeks ago the Queen died.
I know.
Or the funeral was. It seems difficult to believe. It seems much longer, I guess, darker evenings or whatever it is. He seems to be settling into the role. Now, today is his birthday.
Yes.
But the Queen had 2 birthdays.
Yes.
She had her birthday and the official birthday. What's going to happen with Charles, do you think?
So there's a great tradition to this. This tradition goes back to apparently Charles II, who had a royal parade, and then I believe it was in the time of George IV when it became a more annual event. And this is something that our Queen continued with. The reason it's normally in June was Edward VII. His birthday, like the now King, was in November, which is not the great time to have a parade. So it was decided for some reason to do it in June. Now, there's a lot of speculation over if it's going to continue. I'm almost positive that it will. In fact, doing a little bit of research online, I could even see that there's the dates haven't been announced yet, but it is all there. So I think that there will be a trip in the colour in June, which will be the same tradition that the Queen did.
Makes sense. And a coronation in May.
And
a lot to look forward to. Grant, thank you very much indeed for coming in.
My pleasure.
And joining us on the King's birthday. Thank you.
Thank you.